welcome to another episode of the Books on Toast BoTCast. So weekly podcast where we call other cool people and all of us sit together and talk about books.
Questionable on the cool front.
My name is Anuya and Sharin, say hi. Good Sharin.
Hi.
Good Sharin. And today we have these two boys from Geek Fruit. I'm sure you know who they are already, so we don't have to. Sorry.
Because it's on my t-shirt.
It's on the t-shirt.
That's the only reason.
I don't think it's visible. To show a little cleavage.
Yeah,
yes,
please. That's what Superman does, no? He
Yes, this is
removes
true.
and then
Amazing.
Geek Fruit logo.
What a segue.
Fun
Perfect.
So the good people watching who don't know,
Yes.
please tell us what and who are Geek Fruit and tell us your names.
I'm Dinkar. Hi. This is Tejas. What is Geek Fruit, Tejas?
Geek Fruit is many things. As of now, it was basically started for nerds like Dinkar and myself. We were just getting bored watching other people not do the job that we really wanted.
Which
It's a couple of years ago. I was looking for I could just quit my job in advertising, and we're both big nerds. That's why we're here. And I was really looking for a newsletter or a journal or something to write for because I had time on my hands. And so I searched for IGN and things and applied for jobs there. But a lot of their content was really syndicated and coming from different parts of the world, and nothing was really being written here. So the best thing you can do when something doesn't exist is to just create it. So I basically got a few of these guys together, and we started Geek Fruit.
fabulous.
And that's our origin story.
That's our origin.
And what are your day jobs, guys?
This is my day job now officially. So
What is your night job?
by night, we're both of us do a bunch of things. Dinkar, you want to tell them what you do? You have a day job actually, though.
I make videos and whatnot.
Yeah.
The whatnot takes up some time, the videos take up some time.
What is the whatnot?
It's also videos.
Oh, wow.
But they're
videos
called
and videos.
films.
Wait, I'll do this. Both of them are also musicians
This is
and
true.
really, really good.
Yeah.
And you can hire Dinkar to call him at your parties and he will play Do Dil Mil Rahe for you.
true.
This is true.
And everybody by the Backstreet Boys.
This is
Yes.
my superpower.
Yes. So
Yeah.
we'll put his number in the description. You can hire him for all Catholic parties.
Hey, the number will pop up below it.
Yeah.
And then Tejas Menon is also a singer-songwriter.
Yeah. I'm also a musician. I mean, actually, that's my primary function.
Primary function is singer-songwriter.
Is musician. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right now, are your ears?
But right now I'm currently finishing my album, so which is why I'm
Okay.
Ooh,
I'm out of
heard it
phase.
first here.
Album.
Actually, no. I've been literally saying it to anyone who will lend me an ear.
Yeah. That's what I say to people when they ask me, what are you doing? I'm writing a novel.
Yeah. This is true.
It instantly makes me really cool. And even if I haven't written anything,
But you can say
but
that
I'm
now.
thinking
You're in the
about it,
thinking
so
stage,
I'm
which
in
is
the
important.
process.
This
Right?
is true.
Yeah.
But if you said this 10 years ago, no one would take you seriously. I feel like more people take us seriously as artists now because we're older and they'll be like, wait, maybe that's actually what this person has been
Who are you
doing.
calling
for
old
the last
bitch?
time." Me.
This is-
What?
Whoops. Oh no.
What?
Shut the podcast
Stop
down.
the presses.
So that was about Geek Fruit. What is Geek Fruit, guys? It's your podcast.
So we
right?
haven't said anything
Website,
really
yes.
This is
about
true.
Geek
So Geek Fruit is it's a platform for nerds like us
Thank
and you at home to talk about all kinds of nerdy stuff, sci-fi, pop culture stuff, fantasy. It's all in the wheelhouse. So we talk a lot about movies and TV shows and graphic novels.
Should I give them the log line?
Yes.
The
give them
log
that.
line.
Log line.
Yeah, for Geek Fruit, it's uniting estranged geeks across India later on.
Wow.
This is
Also,
true.
there's fruit.
And there's fruit.
Like
so
sometimes the mango is in season now, so you'll get mangoes.
Actually, our official fruit of Geek Fruit is the star
Is the
fruit.
star fruit.
The carambola.
I love the star fruit.
Yeah.
Sure, what star
it's a motherfucking star fruit.
Yeah.
So it's a website, geekfruit.in, where we put up reviews and editorials and whatnot. And it's a podcast, which you can find on the internet.
Yes, everywhere.
This is a thing.
How
Anyway,
often
you listen
does
to
your
it.
podcast come out?
It's weekly. In
Every
fact, we're going to
week.
record an episode right after this. So.
Yes.
Wow.
So we have a weekly podcast, we have the editorial content on the website, and we have a YouTube channel also.
Yes.
So you can
Okay,
find
guys.
us.
So,
Look for the geeks.
Sorry, enough.
question number 1.
Yeah, that was question
Uno
number 1.
question.
Have you read Sweet Valley High?
Yes, thank you, sir.
Sweet Valley High? No,
Yeah.
I haven't actually.
What
No.
about Sweet Valley
It was for
University?
girls, so I did not.
But you are so sweet looking.
This is true, but it was totally for girls. Sweet Valley I skipped, though I...
Also so high all the time.
I may be confusing
What?
this with Mallory Towers from the time I was a
Oh,
kid.
Mallory
sorry.
Towers
Did
I've
you
read,
read
which is
Mallory?
Yeah, I read
great.
Mallory Towers.
Mallory Towers was also for girls, but I read it in secret.
We finding this a pattern, right? Everybody's dead at least one of the two. Either
Yeah.
Ivory Towers
Or Sweet Valley High. Yeah.
Well done, you guys.
So it's partly because Sweet Valley High had outright girly covers. Mallory Towers was still like illustrated towers would
It
be
was a
in
lavender.
I like, but
Yeah.
there is towers,
Hot
so
pink.
maybe I like that. Okay, what are you both reading right now?
Currently.
One book, huh?
One.
Oh, one.
What
Name
are
I'm
one
reading
book you
like
guys are
two
reading right
in
now?
parallel.
But you can talk about one.
Talk about one.
Wait, are you
Okay.
talking about like novel or graphic novel?
Whatever you want.
Anything. Whatever you read.
So I'm reading a book I've been meaning to get to for a long time. It's India After Gandhi by Ramachandra Guha.
Are you making that up?
I'm not, no. Like I've been meaning to for a couple of years, and I picked it up at an airport a couple of weeks back. And the first like couple of hundred chapters, it feels like, are all about the partition. I get that it's important, but I want to get to the stuff after that. And I'm reading this graphic novel of I suppose it's a graphic novel. It's a Marvel book called Marvels, which retells important historical
Good name.
events in the Marvel, not in the Marvel comic universe, like the origin of the Human Torch and whatnot, but from a different perspective. It's from the perspective of this
Journalist, right?
yeah, this photojournalist.
Who's
So
the photojournalist?
he's like a new character.
Okay, he's a new
And this is about, basically it's like the civilian perspective on the stuff that was happening around the 1940s and whatnot when these characters
During the World
originated.
War.
Yes, right
Yeah.
after I think.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
can't remember. What does it span? What does it like go from?
The
like
40s to the 60s. The World
It
War.
starts
and the
right,
Cold War.
like it starts around the time of World War. Like that's why Captain America was a big deal,
Right.
because he was the Nazi puncher. He punched Nazis. He punched Hitler.
he punched Hitler square. In the
Wow,
jaw.
really?
Yeah, there's
That's
this
the cover.
famous comic book cover of him
yeah.
punching Hitler.
Wow.
So
And saying
suck
something
on that,
while
Hitler.
he's doing it, right? He was talking and punching at the same time. That's great.
I bet
Sorry.
you did not see that coming.
Sorry. Oh
Okay.
god.
And what about you? Tejas?
I'm not reading anything as fancy. I'm actually reading something that I picked up a while ago, but I haven't finished. Called a street cat named Bob. I don't know if you have read.
What is it about?
A street cat named Bob. It's basically.
What?
It's basically. So I saw the trailer of this movie, which is also of the same name. And it's about like a recovering drug addict. I mean, it sounds really intense, but it's really not at all. It's about a recovering drug addict who kind of is trying to shape his life together, and then he becomes responsible for this like stray cat and how the cat
Okay.
kind of changes his life. I have cats, that's why.
Aww.
That's why I wanna read it.
What is the name of the cat?
Bob.
Bob.
What? Are you
So,
serious?
also, fun
Yeah.
fact, Tejas also has a cat. Is
I
your
have
cat's
four
name Bob?
cats. No, I have 4 cats. I have 2 cats in
Wait,
Pune.
wait, wait. Is your cat's name Tejas Menon?
I feel like I've heard this one before. No, but my cats are Luke and Leia.
Luke and
Oh.
Yeah, and Twix and Bounty in Pune.
Twix and Bounty.
In Pune, yeah. I have 2 cats in Pune. I didn't name the first 2, the second Luke and Leia.
I love Bounty, so
Twix and Bounty.
I
are
love
good
Twix and
names.
Bounty. If they were named Snickers and Mars, then we would have had an issue.
Mars, I have.
But
a
I
problem
like
with.
both Twix and Bounty, so
Why
it's okay.
Snickers?
Snickers is great
Hate
though.
Snickers.
Well, somebody's not getting a sponsor.
Yeah, because there are so many lining up. No, Niche, oh God, 2000 subs. Let me take my money.
No, we'll take your money, please. And all your chocolates, thanks.
Snickers on toast. All right, let's go.
All right.
That's actually oh God, now I want some. Anyway, so today we are going to talk about what are we going to talk about? Graphic
We're talking
novels.
about graphic novels.
Graphic novels. That's our theme.
So, yeah, so you guys want to start off with defining what
Graphic novel.
each one of you is a graphic
What
novel.
is
What
a graphic
is
novel?
a graphic novel?
How do you define
Yeah.
a graphic novel?
The Oxford
Dinkar?
English Dictionary defines graphic novel as. I actually don't know.
As
But
I don't know. I mean, like,
a graphic novel is basically, it's just a comic in sort of novel format. They're shorter. They run from like 70 pages to however long.
yeah, I think the only difference, I mean, for
Which
me,
one, the graphic novel or the comic book?
Graphic
Graphic
novels.
novels.
Yeah.
Comic books are like 25 pages.
yeah, the
Okay.
difference for me, at least when I figured out what a graphic novel was that it's, yeah, it's not like completely serialized, like it doesn't go on forever.
Yeah.
And the second thing was that I think they just did it to give it more like weight, like it's a more like adult way of like comic books have always been
Kids.
like, you know, stuff that, you know, kids would pick up at, you know, a local store or a comic book store and things like that. But I think reading a graphic novel Just I think that's just like it's just a more serious way of approaching that kind of art style.
I think the distinction that I've kind of drawn is graphic novels usually have like a bigger artistic intent sort of behind them. Like it's the difference between fiction and literary fiction. They're both books,
I
but
want to disagree.
Yeah,
so
so-
I think
so do comics. I'm not denying that, but like graphic novels, they tend to have like a closed off storyline in mind from the start. And like serialization, like the first couple of graphic novels are all serialized, right? And they were
They
clubbed
collected-
together.
collected
and
volumes,
So
yes.
Alan Moore, who is like sort of the godfather of graphic novels, hates the term graphic novels.
Yeah, he hates everything.
He hates
Let's
everything.
just put
This
it
is
that way.
true. He's a bit of a nut job.
He hates
but
Alan Moore.
according to him, so like graphic novels are just a publishing convenience. So like there's like 12 editions of Watchmen, club them all together, you've got a graphic novel.
But I think that was the idea, though. I
That
mean,
was
they
the
had to
idea, no?
serialize-
Yeah.
They had to serialize it because they couldn't put out
Because
the
no
story
one knew
in
the
one go.
format.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think, and I think that for people who've never read a comic book in their life, graphic novel is sort of like the gateway drug, right?
Oh,
it's
I
like,
would say was it?
Yeah,
I would say
I
the
know, for-
opposite.
yeah.
No, because now that the format is popular, you know what they're doing? They're turning all these like popular books into graphic novels. Like there is an
Yes.
illustrated Harry Potter, there's illustrated Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones has Game of Thrones graphic novels now.
Yeah.
Twilight.
Idea. And these are the
has
same
Twilight
stories,
graphic
or
novels.
they're
The
like
same stories.
Oh, okay.
But
the
just,
same
um,
stories, just made visual, less text heavy. So even for people who are not accustomed to reading a lot, and people who've never picked up a graphic or comic book, see the problem with the comic book, and I'm telling you this because I've started reading comic books now.
Okay.
The problem with the comic book is you don't know where to begin because the universe is so vast.
True.
So I was so the universe of like a DC or a Marvel is so vast that for
This is
someone who's a
true.
latecomer into the genre,
And
Yeah.
everyone is.
and everyone
Yeah,
is right
yeah.
because we didn't grow up.
yeah,
with,
we
Yeah.
were born in the 40s and we haven't been
also
reading
we
since
weren't
then.
born like South Bombay rich, so there was
Whoa,
nobody
whoa,
giving
whoa.
us DC
Hey,
No, one
comics.
second. Comic books are like why they were so like ubiquitous is because they were cheap.
They were cheap
But
back
maybe
in the
not-
day,
maybe
not,
not
as
here.
much
Not
now.
here?
Not here.
Not here?
Not
Until
here.
I think Gotham Comics came
it
and
was
changed that game.
yeah.
Gotham comics were super cheap
Yeah,
in
I mean,
India.
I remember
the
Archie
comics
comic
we
book was
read,
60
yeah.
bucks.
So Archie, the comics we read, Phantom,
Phantom is great.
Phantom is a
Mandrake,
great,
Yeah.
yeah.
you know,
Falk.
yeah, we read that kind
In
of stuff.
3-panel installments in the newspaper.
So those books were cheap, but DC and Marvel were not cheap and also not very easily accessible.
Not
Accessible,
easily
Yeah.
accessible here. Okay, so yeah, I attended this workshop of comic book writing where the facilitator was explaining the basic difference between comic books and graphic novels, and it's essentially the same what we talked about. Only technically in publishing jargon, comic books are serialized and never ending, whereas graphic novels have a definitive beginning and a definitive end.
Yeah.
So even if they're in a series, they're a 3-part series or a 4-part
Right,
series,
right.
but it's clearly defined from the beginning. So that's the technical difference. But of course, I'm sure, like, as readers, we tend to imbibe certain different things about certain different kinds of books, and hence, it's fluid and
Yeah.
keeps evolving. What's to say that graphic novels tomorrow will not become popular enough to be serialized comic books? Like some of the things that we've read, I feel like completely can become like the Watchmen, for example.
Yeah.
Like, it can be like a never-ending story, and
Yes.
it can be
It has
serialized.
become now. Like now
Yeah.
they extended
Yeah.
upon
It's
the
been the Watchmen have been brought into the mainstream
yeah, the
DC
DC,
universe as such,
Yeah.
which is a bit of a
Of
controversial
very-
move
yeah, it's
because
two controversial moments. One is before Watchmen when they decided to go ahead with the prequel story.
so the reason it is controversial is that Watchmen is seen as this like graphic novel with a beginning and an end, like you said,
Correct.
and bringing it into this like the serialized DC universe
Yeah.
and reappropriating those characters, especially Alan Moore, who's super fussy about his work being like used at all.
Why is he so angry?
Because
He's a bit of a nut job.
he's a crazy genius,
Yes.
and like he's written some of the best stuff. But like for him, he doesn't like. I think there's a good comic that I saw once that explains this properly, which is about like it's got these two goats in it.
Goats?
Yeah, goats. And one goat is
I like
eating.
it already.
One goat is eating a film reel, and he's eating it, and he tells the other goat the book was better. And I think that kind of perfectly explains the problem of Alan Moore, right? He thinks that every medium is individual to itself. You can't adapt one to the other. So obviously that kind of brings about his point about adapting his books into movies. And the other thing is that he himself is like his own like worst critic. Like he hates like The Killing Joke, which he's written. Again, one of my favorites, I think. He hates a lot of. He's like, oh, that was pretty immature. It was blah blah blah. It was that. And a lot of people don't realize that, you know, a lot of his work kind of, this is what I find the principal difference. Like, you know, the word comic and comic book makes it feel like, you know, it was for kids, it was for, it was for, you know, people, teenagers or coming of age. I think the real coming of age though was, you know, a lot of his work in the 80s.
Yeah.
Taking Batman from that Neil Adams or the Adam West kind of style into the much darker version that we know now. And I think the graphic novel aspect of it is purely like to say that this is not a children's comic book anymore. It's more
But
of
Yeah,
a
I want to bring that
serious
up. Graphic
adaptation.
novels are a lot darker than.
I think they are allowed to be. Yeah,
Yeah.
they didn't want the medium to remain in the hands of like just for kids kind of material.
I haven't read a single graphic novel that has been happy.
I've read so many happy graphic
I haven't
novels.
read
I've
any
read
happy.
plenty, in fact.
What about, but let's come back to Alan Moore. From Hell was his original graphic novel that was adapted into a film.
First one, you mean?
The first one to be adapted into film?
Yeah, no, not first one. Like I want to know whether the movie came first or the graphic novel.
The graphic novel came first.
Yeah, definitely.
But
that
like a
was
lot of.
fact.
All
So
of them
did he
have been
also-
known.
Did he also not like From Hell?
He's not liked any of them.
He doesn't like movies of his work in
He
general
doesn't like
because
movies
yeah.
in general, I think.
And so like his biggest criticism of
Interesting.
graphic novels and comic books today is that they're all written with the idea of this will become a movie
At some
eventually.
point.
And he's like, if you're doing that, you're just making movies
Yeah.
that don't move.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is true.
Yeah.
But you know,
Movies that don't
it's-
move.
and it's funny because
Stop.
Watchmen, the actual, you know, the book was used, like the panels were used by Zack Snyder as the actual
As a
storyboard, you know,
storyboard,
yeah.
for the
Correct.
movie. So it's kind of interesting that he says that and that actually happened to his own work. In fact, he removes his name from all his, from all the
Yeah,
adaptations.
he's not
like,
credited in any
He's not
of the
credited at
movies.
all, which is kind of weird and
Wow.
I've said this before on this podcast, but
Yeah.
my dream is to interview Alan Moore because he doesn't like it.
He hates
yeah,
it. There's
he hates
there's
My
this
fear
great.
is he won't talk. He'll be like a monosyllabic.
He doesn't. There's
Hi.
this article I read once
Oh my
about
God,
this
I'm a
guy
fan.
who tried to interview Alan
yeah,
Moore.
yeah.
So he found out where his office was, and every day every other week he'd go there and like knock, and he could hear Alan Moore inside, but the door would never open until months later
my
when Alan Moore opens the door and he's like, "Oh, Alan Moore, I'm so glad I finally met you. I really want to interview you. I've been coming here for the past 2 months." And he's like, "I know. Stop that." And he shuts the door. And that's the end of the article. So he's like,
have
"This
you
is
read,
it."
have you read Swamp Thing by Alan Moore?
No.
So Alan Moore is Swamp Thing. Like
Yeah,
really,
he
I
is.
don't. That's the perfect kind of.
Yeah.
He's basically this huge bearded hermit kind of guy who just lives by himself. He's a recluse.
Looks like that looks like a leprechaun in my head. Like a mischievous guy.
But yeah, I just want to say, you know, out of all the graphic novels, I mean, that's the first one that I read, which kind of really changed.
Which one?
Swamp Thing.
No, Watchmen. I think,
Watchmen, okay.
I think there are if I remember correctly, by the time I was like turning 18, 19, there were two things that kind of really changed my perception of how art can be created. And I think one of them was Rent, which was a musical, and
Yeah,
the second thing was
yeah.
Watchmen. And I think both of them just broke they broke the paradigm for like how you can approach like art and how you can create it. I think that's why it's so seminal. It's because it was the first one to
Yeah.
kind of
So
do it.
speaking about that, let's talk about why we. So I'm assuming that all of us love graphic novels.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? So why do we love graphic novels? Vis-a-vis say a novel. Like why would we spend
Oh.
700-800 rupees to buy a graphic novel when a novel costs 200 rupees?
Can I start?
Yeah.
So for me, it's just the art, man. I
Yeah.
think it's a convergence of beautiful storyboarding and text, and that is not something that can be, I think, mimicked in any other style, right? Like one of my favorite graphic novelists is Amruta Patil. She's Indian origin artist, and one of her most popular works, which I completely resonate with, is Adi Parva. So I read Mahabharata only once in school because I had no option, and I read it in Hindi. And it's a real failing at my part, but I don't resonate with the story at all. So in Adi Parva, interestingly, is also the first book in the Mahabharata series. So literally means the first book, and it's establishing who the characters in the Mahabharata epic are before the Pandavas were born, before the Kauravas were born. So literally like establishing the universe. And Amruta does these amazing landscapes of, you know, just the Ganga flowing in, and, you know, creatures coming out of it, and that adds like a dimension of storytelling which otherwise I wouldn't have been able to conjure, and it got me interested in it.
Nice.
Also, I love, can I read like the first preface from the graphic novel, which I
Yeah.
thought was
Yeah,
really
please.
interesting. And it's really poetic. That's what I really love about
She's
it.
copied it, guys.
I wrote
It's
it down
on a
because I was like,
notebook.
oh my god, I
Oh my
love
God.
it.
That's good.
yeah.
That's good. I love it. Yeah.
It says to know if a tale is worth its weight in gold, check if it reveals itself threefold in your bloodstream, in the town square, in the turning of galaxy. If it does, it's gold. I think that was
Sweet.
just the
That's
perfect way
great.
to start a book. Like it set the pace, and I knew what I was getting myself into. It was like, whoa,
You know,
goosebumps.
Funny you're saying about
We're not
Mahabharata.
talking about the Goosebumps series. We're talking about.
Thanks for destroying my moment.
I know there was.
And
It's
they're
a
gone
good
now.
moment, Anuya.
Finished.
But apart from like Uncle Pai and Amar Chitra Katha and all that stuff, and how I
Which
learned
are
stuff.
great graphic novels.
Great graphic
actually.
novels. I mean, that's
They
the only way
are.
I learned
Yeah.
stuff. In
That's how
school.
we learned everything about
Yeah, yeah.
Indian mythology.
And Amar Chitra Katha
And
was
life.
cheap.
Yeah.
Where we came
Yeah.
from.
Amar
But-
Chitra Katha was 20 rupees, man. Ye 800 ka.
I think it was that's it
Liver
was
lele.
ubiquitous. Another thing that you could buy at the railway station,
Yeah.
pick it up
Yeah.
and read and stuff. But I think the other one just to kind
Yeah.
of the whole Indian mythology thing. I read another really great one which was called Ramayan 3000.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Dude, that is so awesome.
It
it is
is.
amazing. It's basically like a futuristic take on Ramayana.
It's
And I know
so good.
there's a million ways of doing it. It's by Graphic
3080,
India.
right?
3080 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
That was
And
the
it's
Virgin
insanely
Comics scene.
Cool, yeah, because it's got like
It's got armor.
yeah, it's got
Yeah.
a blend of like proper like science fiction to it. Like
Yeah.
so everything makes sense. Like there's a huge energy kind of generator in Ayodhya and stuff like it's really Star
Basically,
Warsian
it's
also. Like,
Ramayan and science.
it's awesome. Yeah,
Yes.
it's exactly like
Yeah,
how I'd like to
yeah,
approach
yeah.
like Indian mythology. At least if I want another new take. I mean, like Indian
Yeah.
television series they do Mahabharat like they tell it so many times. It's just like dude,
the same
for
way.
once,
In the same
if
way.
you could do it like slightly differently, I would be so interested in reading. And that's what Ramayana 3000
They're all
is. It's
afraid
really
of
good.
goons coming to their offices and burning their shit.
This is true. Ramayan 3000 never ended, for example. Virgin Comics
No,
shut.
there are 2 volumes.
Did Ramayan 3000
yeah,
end?
yeah, I have
Which
the second
one
volume.
didn't end? One of
I
them
think
didn't.
there's probably is another one which didn't work.
These
out.
were all under. There was this entire
Graphic India,
series
this
of.
was, right?
No, this
No,
was
I know
Virgin
what you're
Comics.
talking about. Is it
No.
Virgin Comics?
Virgin
I had,
Comics.
I had a
yes.
Graphic India thing. I don't know if it's Graphic India. So I can't. I'm not
Graphic
sure.
India was 18 days, yeah, guys.
Yeah.
That was Grand Morrison 18
The
days.
Grand
that
Morrison.
was
No,
amazing.
I'm talking about the 3000. The Ramayana 3000.
Which
That
was Virgin Comics.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So
Oh, is
I'm
it?
not sure
Okay.
about
Oh,
that.
Virgin Comics shut.
It did shut
Yeah.
down. Yeah.
But
Why?
yeah, that was great.
I don't
They
know. They
lost their
started.
virginity.
This is
I'm
true.
into
Great
it,
book,
yeah.
by the way.
Richard Branson was like, "Whoa!
I
I
just
just
wanna say-
realized."
Because we're on books on test.
Can't
That's my
call-
favorite book of all time. Sorry.
What?
Losing my
Virginity?
virginity. Losing my virginity.
Bye?
Richard
Bye.
Branson.
Oh.
Oh.
If you haven't read, just read it. It's the best. It's the greatest.
Virgin Comics,
You know,
though.
I would love to see that in a graphic novel format.
What?
Only because Richard Branson has that larger than life
He's
personality.
the most colorful
He's-
character ever.
He's the hero of a graphic novel in his
He
mind.
would be a great hero of a graphic novel.
He's a legend. He's a legend.
True.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are you saying, Dinkar?
Oh,
Yeah.
Virgin Comics shut down like ingloriously. No one knows why.
But Dinkar's doing a really special piece.
Yeah, I'm trying
on
to
Geek
do,
Fruit.
like,
He's been researching it
an
for months.
investigative piece on why Virgin Comics shut
Why?
down.
Why? What
No
have
one
you
knows.
found so far?
Gotham
Don't reveal too much
Comics, which we
spoilers.
brought
You
up
can't.
early, is it was this. Gotham Comics is not named for Gotham from DC. It's named for Gotham Chopra,
Yeah.
who is Deepak Chopra's son, and he's called Gotham. It's amazing.
Gotham.
So him, Shekhar Kapoor, and Richard Branson started Virgin Comics as this like
You know, those 3 guys.
those 3 guys, the weirdest combination in the world. So it came up as this like super cinematic. The idea was to make all these comic book series into movies. So there was Devi.
Why am I not
There was what is the other one? Yogi.
No, it's something. Yogi or something.
Yeah, it was something called Yogi, which was about a yogi type dude. There was something called Devi,
Thought it
which was
was
about
about
a
a bear.
it was an adult
no,
adaptation
Devi
of
was about a
Yogi Bear.
Devi type lady. There was Ramayan 3000,
Which was
and
about
all of
Ramayana.
Plus they had like these one shots by directors like John Woo and stuff.
correct.
So it was great.
One-shots?
One shots is like
One-shots
basically
are-
a comic
yeah.
book that's one and done.
Yeah,
it's
it's just-
like a graphic novel but smaller.
It's just a singular story. And now it's funny because Marvel's adapted the one shot into their short film series.
This
they
is
call them
true.
one shot.
Yeah.
That's cool. I
Wow.
like that,
So
Where
what
were we?
happened to it? Shut down.
One shot.
It just suddenly shut down. A lot of the series were left incomplete, like Ramayan 3000, I think, and it got changed into another company which never did anything. So, read the full investigative piece on Geek Fruit
Whenever it comes out.
whenever it comes out. If we ever find out what happened.
Yeah, this is true.
Much like Virgin Comics, those
find-
stories are left incomplete.
We're not pitching our
Find an
company,
internal
right?
sauce named like Deep Fruit.
No.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
What were we talking about?
We're
I
talking
completely
about.
forgot.
We were just talking about graphic novels.
We were just
Mythology,
talking.
right? We were talking about
No,
mythology.
we were talking about why we love the format, and you said
Okay.
art.
Art.
And do you guys have something to add?
I think it's art to a great extent. Like, one of the great things about graphic novels is when the art and the story like really match up. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of things about the format that I think are unique to graphic novels. Like, it's dialogue heavy, so it's more analogous to a play
Yeah.
than like
Yeah.
than a movie. Though of course there are graphic novels that are narration heavy, but it's all dialogue, and the scene is just set by the art. Wordless panels, like innovations and even like panel layout and stuff. Like Watchmen
Yeah.
has this one
Yeah.
chapter which
Yeah.
is
I
the
was just gonna
mirror
bring that.
image one.
Oh,
Where-
that. Yeah, the mirror image.
So like the first
That's
half
amazing.
of the book and the second half of the book
Of
are
the chapter.
mirror images of the chapter.
Yeah.
Sorry, are mirror images of each other. Like the panel layout,
Yeah.
perfectly mirror each other, like right down to placement of characters and stuff, because they're talking about two parallel stories, and they both meet in the center in this like giant.
It's
Spread
that
out
was-
panel.
Yeah, that was.
Wow.
But actually, another chapter is still my favorite in Watchmen, which is I still think is the most unique thing I've ever seen. It's when Dr. Manhattan, one of the characters, he kind of leaves Earth and goes
Yeah.
to Mars,
Yeah.
and he's just like his whole perception of time is explained in that chapter like insanely well. Like
Yeah.
it's not even done as well in like it cannot be done better like in any other format. Like you can't write it. The movie doesn't do a good enough job of explaining that the perception of time, and they do it because by nature, these things are static. You can't,
Yeah.
they're literally frozen in time. And I think that was just like, that blew my mind. I remember like reading it for the first time, kind of blew my mind. Yeah, man, but I think in my life, I think I started out as a kid reading comic books. And then when I got kind of a little tired of comic books and I went to college, I started reading graphic novels. But now I feel like I've come back to comic books, but I think comic books have kind of
Do you
grown
think,
up because
also-
of graphic novels a little
I
bit
was
more.
going to ask that. Do you think that pressure has been sort of, put on the comic book creators to sort of match up and make their characters darker,
I
their
think
art
it's
more sharper?
Definitely,
Kind
because
of,
like
yeah.
all audiences have also kind of really evolved, man. Like like teenagers today are so much they're so
Darker.
different like from when we were kids and things like that. And I think they expect like a much darker take. I mean that's why movies
Really?
I think movies like Logan or like the R-rated movies are doing so well
I blame
today.
Christopher Nolan for this.
I don't blame him. He's
But
taken
he's
so much
taken it
from Tim
from
Sale,
Dark
Jeff
Knight
Loeb,
Returns and The Killing Joke. and
like Dark
stuff.
Victory, Long Halloween, that kind of
Yeah,
stuff. I mean,
yeah.
it's basically just taken what was really great about the second age of comics in that sense and kind of made it into. So yeah, you could say graphic novels have kind of iterated like
Yeah.
the darker, grittier take that we're also kind of bored with right now, but like also kind
Yeah,
of got
but
its heyday
it
in
very
in the
consciously
Nolan
moved
series.
away from like pulp, right?
Yeah,
You know,
man.
it
This is
became
true.
Serious,
Yeah,
like
seriously.
fiction, literature,
So
and
like
all of that.
Dark Knight Returns kind of invented the gritty take on Batman, but a lot of its backstory comes from a death in the family, which was an earlier Batman comic. So in Dark Knight Returns, Batman is dealing with the death of Robin Todd, who used to be Robin
Jason
at one
Todd.
point. Also, Jason Todd, yes.
Well, Robin Todd is also a fan.
yes, he's Robin, and he's
He
Jason
used
Todd.
to be Jason 1.2.
And you know what's
Yeah.
really screwed up is that they asked the readers to kind of vote to say whether you would live or die. And
Whether,
they,
yeah.
they just
And
hated
he
him, so they
died.
said like kill him
So-
all. And then they
so,
were like,
yeah.
oh wait, that was a poor
There was for
mistake."
months there was a call-in number.
That's I see where the inspiration for Brexit came from.
Yeah.
So,
Yes,
A Death in the Family is like a pulpy, comic booky version of a main character dying. But that same death is dealt with just a lot more seriously in Dark Knight Returns. So it's like the themes are similar, but suddenly like the tone became very gritty and dark and serious.
Yes, that's true. Actually, we were talking about this, funnily enough. I don't know if this is going to be the trend for graphic novels. It might be, and I don't know. I've not been reading as many as of late. But like we were just talking about the Lego Batman movie just came out, and I did a review for it on our website, and I was just kind of that's how Batman is such a principal figure in the realm of like comic books, graphic novels, is that you can chart the entire like different takes of people on graphic novels by using
By
Batman
how
as
they
a
use
barometer.
Batman.
And like it's gone from like being really dark in the 30s when it started, like he was this kind of guy who was using guns, blah blah, blah, and then kind of became light with the Adam West, the 60s, the Neil Adams art, the 70s stuff, and then kind of went back into being like dark and gritty with Frank Miller, and now it's come back again like to the light
Light.
side of it, which is really interesting. And I think also graphic novels have
interesting,
done
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
They've gone through their dark phase, come out the other side.
Yeah.
So
That's
that's
true.
also pretty interesting to kind of see that happen.
Yes.
What I love about graphic novels, the format, is how it uses the art to add an extra layer to the text, right?
Yeah.
Like for example, little graphic novels are so good at showcasing internal conflict.
Yeah.
You know, because it's art can take you to a place that text like a novel
That text
cannot.
alone can't, yeah.
Like for example, in Arkham Asylum,
Yeah.
they have that whole. First of all, there's this flashback story about that Amadeus Arkham.
Yeah, this is
and his life.
Brian Azzarello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his mother has schizophrenia, and she's like, I've already eaten, and then you see what she sees, right? And typing it and saying, and for her, she was thinking about like cockroaches or whatever, bugs on her face.
Exactly, yeah.
Vis-a-vis like sudden close-up of her with creatures on her face is so different.
Yeah.
So different. So I feel like graphic novels do a great job of showing you what's going on inside.
Yeah.
Like Legion, which I haven't read the comic book.
They're
I
many.
haven't read the comics.
They're part of a he's
And
just a
it has,
character within
yeah,
many
and it
series.
has very little to do with the TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Yeah, but I imagine that's how, if someone wrote a graphic novel about Legion, that is what
But
it would
actually,
be like.
there is Scarlet Witch is a lot like that, like in the comics, like because she's like a really conflicted character. But yeah, you get to see those sides of.
You know,
of it
I
in
would
the-
really like to see Hannibal as a graphic novel. for
Dude, I was just
example.
saying,
think
Legion is a lot like Hannibal. Like it
Yeah.
reminds me a lot
Kind
of.
of is.
You
Yeah.
should really watch it.
Yeah.
This is the second time we're talking about Legion.
Legion is like
It's a
David Lynch and
superb
Wes
show.
Anderson
Yeah.
and
I mean, I
Hannibal.
still feel
Yeah.
like it's a super Stanley Kubrick kind of.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, Stanley Kubrick.
But you know, I also want to add like so. You know, like something that is so unique to graphic novels. It's one thing I read in a Spider-Man comic. Surprising. It was just like a throwaway issue, but like something they did really well was the whole playing with time. Was that there was a character who basically could. He had like some kind of time travel ish powers, and what they did was like Spider-Man is facing this villain, and what the villain does, and this is an insanely cool use of panels, but basically he would basically punch Spider-Man in a previous panel. So like basically his arm would like float across the page and punch him in a previous panel. So like Spider-Man doesn't know where the punches are coming
Oh my
from.
god.
That's
And-
amazing.
but when you get to that panel, you just see that he's seeing time in a different way. It's almost like Amy Adams in like Arrival or something. It's like, but it's insane like how they use that. Just the medium to their advantage, and I think that's just,
I love
like,
how
really,
they
really
have
cool.
different fonts for different characters.
Yeah, I
and
love
that
that.
changes the way you hear the voice
You
in
hear
your
the
head.
voice, absolutely.
Like,
Like Dream in Sandman.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah, that
definitely.
he has that black, and then Joker in Arkham Asylum has that big crazy red.
Yeah, he has, and then a lot he has an inverse kind of way of.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
slightly blurred
typography
out,
is
so
as important
for
as
that
art.
crazy. Yeah, so that's
Yeah,
the,
so for the longest time, it's reduced now, but letterers used to be their own, like it was a profession by itself. Just
okay.
so you'd have pencilers, then you'd have inkers who would
Inkers,
basically like
colorists.
trace the outlines.
Is that also what your brother's called?
It is Dinkar and Inkar Dwivedi.
Oh my god.
We're
You won,
twins.
she won the show.
Yeah.
It's done.
Oh my god.
That's great. That was
That
great.
came out of nowhere.
That was so good. I didn't.
Amazing.
What happened?
Too good.
Yeah.
Anuya, you made up for some of
All
the
right.
previous.
Well, this has been the BoTCast. Thank you for watching.
Anyway, continue.
So yeah, letterers used to be an important profession by themselves. Like Thor, for example, always talks in this like ridiculous gothic font,
Yeah.
which
That's
is
true.
really weird. Like people will be like, "Hey Thor, what's up?" And he's like, "Did thou sayest what's up to me?"
Meest.
Meest.
Yeah. Actually, one of my favorite graphic novels is Scott Pilgrim. And
Yeah.
like a lot
Oh
of
my
people kind of
god,
like.
Allah.
A lot of people think that's a really kind of it's a comic booky kind of format, but actually what they did with lettering was really
is.
cool. They did the songs in the graphic novel really cool. So they put the lyrics and they kind of make them flow.
Yeah.
And they would put the chords as well.
Yeah.
Like
Oh.
right
So
above
I
them, so you could actually play them. It's really cool.
It's like a full guide. It's a songwriting book.
Until the movie kind of came out and kind of ruined the. I mean, it didn't ruin it. The movie's
It's
great.
an amazing movie.
But
I
like-
love
but
that
like
movie.
basically-
Michael Cera, come on.
I didn't think Michael Cera is the right choice.
Where
Scott
is he
Pilgrim. I'm just
now?
gonna put
Dude,
that out.
he
Huh?
is Scott Pilgrim.
Michael
Where is
Cera-
Michael Cera now?
where is
He's
Michael Cera
Robin
now?
in.
I'll just
He's
check
on
under
Jimmy
the
Fallon
table.
occasionally.
No, he's
Playing
not
games.
there.
But yeah, Scott Pilgrim is definitely one of my favorites for doing stuff like that. But also just like, I think also a lot of people wanted to say that graphic novels were really like serious art forms. But Scott Pilgrim kind of took a very
Yeah.
nominal look at life for like 20-somethings.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that a lot. And kind of put in, it's so weird. I was watching this movie yesterday called Indie Game, the movie. I don't know if you've seen it. It's on Netflix. It's basically about how indie developers have kind of, and what they said in that movie was really cool. It's like, a lot of things that happened in the 90s were exclusive to people of our age, right? Like video games and like comic books and graphic novels, the advent of graphic novels. And that's why that's the one medium we can say we can call our own. And I think Scott Pilgrim like owns that really well.
Yeah.
It just kind of takes stuff which is like inherently our generation's only.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, trap, dubstep, these things are also ours now. So, but
And
yeah,
we're
I mean,
proud.
yeah, I guess. But like, but that's what I love about.
Ever talk about dubstep, it'll go away.
Yeah, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe.
Like we'll just cut parts from the podcast where we've said
Or
dubstep.
have your viewers make like a dubstep remix of this episode.
Of Dinkar.
Yeah.
Dinkar.
I think Scott Pilgrim is a great example of a graphic novel. It was a comic series that works as a graphic novel when you club it together. Six or 12 or something.
Yeah,
But yeah, like we all read it in one chunk.
Yeah.
So it's a great example of a graphic novel that deals with serious themes but not in a gritty way. Like
Yeah,
it's
I
fun, it's hilarious, and like it deals with like
So that's the one non-dub.
it's not the
It's not
one.
the
There's
one, there are plenty.
lots. Yeah.
But you know, here's
But
the
Scott
other
Pilgrim's a
thing.
great example.
Like, I mean, the way we're reading graphic novels is like just like, oh, this is a new way to read books, or you know, maybe we could
Yeah,
not
so
read.
is it better than books? do
But
you
like
prefer?
in Japan, manga is like the way they
Yeah.
read. Like they read everything in manga.
Yeah.
Like they read Shakespeare that way, they read like prose that way, and that's just the way people
Yeah.
read.
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, like I feel like it's now become a thing here, but art and literature should not. I mean, it's like music and dance. Like it feels almost inseparable.
Wah, wah.
But like, it shouldn't be. Sorry.
It shouldn't be.
Yeah.
I think the reason there's so many, you're right, gritty graphic novels are more common than non-gritty ones. And that's because like when the medium first started out, there was this need to draw a distinction between comic books, which are like fun and for kids, and graphic
Yeah.
novels. So
Yeah.
it's like, hey, I killed a guy. I guess this is a serious book now. So
People die in
It's
children's
become
books
gory.
also.
yeah, but
Yeah.
that's sad. What children's books are you
But
reading?
what about any?
Did anyone
Indian
die
graphic-
in Sweet Valley High?
I did actually.
Yeah.
Well, I
What?
guess we're having two
Yes.
separate conversations.
One character died
In Sweet Valley High, there was an earthquake and like half the cast died and all. Yeah,
What
on
are you
their
talking
birthday,
about?
I've read this book.
Oh my god.
On
Okay.
their
It's
birthday, which is
dark.
also my birthday, there was an earthquake that killed half the cast of Sweet Valley High.
What?
When I say cast, I mean characters.
Characters,
But
yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
Sweet Valley High got really dark.
Maybe Sweet Valley
It's
High
called
isn't
Earthquake.
just for
It's called
girls.
Sweet
after
Valley
all.
High Earthquake, and then there is another one called Aftermath. उधर भी लोग मरते हैं. I'm like ये क्यों हो रहा
In
है?
the aftermath also.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway,
Yeah.
moving away from Sweet Valley
We were
High.
actually talking about something.
Why don't I think that's a better conversation?
What were you guys
We
talking
were
about?
talking about Indian
graphic
Indian
novels.
graphic novels.
Let's get into that.
Yeah.
Let's actually talk about
So
it.
this author called Jayan Durti, I've followed his work for quite some time, and he actually collaborates with Mukesh Singh a lot. You know who Mukesh Singh is?
No.
So he's worked with Grant Morrison. He's
wow.
like this really cool artist who sort of lives in Dadar. Always wears a black T-shirt and blue jeans, and he works with non-printed black T-shirt and blue jeans.
Branded,
And he lives in Dadar, like I said, and he works with Grant Morrison. He's the cover artist of the Incredible Hulk series, etc.
Nice.
Wow.
So he works with Jay a lot to work on these sort of series of books called the Hyderabad Graphic Novel Project. And so there are two books that have come out so far. One is the Hyderabad Graphic Novel Project, and the other one is the Bangalore Graphic Novel Project. They're
Okay.
completely two
Right.
distinct books,
Like the cities.
like the cities. And the reason they're called projects is because they literally talk about architecture and how you can codify the architecture of destruction or progress into how people start using that cities, how they build bylanes, how they live together, and how that eventually ends up becoming their defining character. So the idea of good versus evil, the evil will always be inbred in the city, and the good will always be the human being. So I really like this intermix,
That sounds
and there is some
fascinating, yeah.
random
That is
time traveling happening in this. There are dinosaurs coming, there are auto rickshaws.
Oh
It's
wait,
just
this is
There
going
are
to
dinosaurs in
Yeah,
Hyderabad
what?
in this book.
really interesting. So
Dude, dinosaurs in Hyderabad, dude.
That's
a
great-
band name, by the way.
That's a band name.
Like, making that band happen.
post rock.
Yes, no, then it would be post-rock would be when dinosaurs in Hyderabad walk
Yeah.
on Earth.
when they walk.
Dot,
it has
dot,
to be
dot.
present continuous tense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's a
that's
really
cool.
good author, and then there's also Apu Pen who writes these really funny,
Yeah.
punny. I think you guys will really like it. Called The Legends of Hala Hala.
Okay.
Yes,
And
but
it's,
we've been
it's-
typecast.
Huh?
Yeah,
Yes,
what
you
the
guys,
hell?
You guys
Yeah.
like puns, punny books.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
But tell us
Yeah.
We
about.
don't like punny books. We are.
Are.
You
punny
are
books.
funny books.
Yeah.
This is a big focus of your novel.
There should
Yeah.
be a series actually, the Punny Book series. No?
But Apu Pen already sort of does
call
it.
it
Apu Pen already did it.
Punny da rang. Anyway.
Oh, nice. Nice one, guys.
Well, this
nice
has been
one.
the podcast. Thank you for watching.
Every time there's a substandard.
Oh god.
Hey, who are you calling substandard?
Tejas,
Your
why do you
joke.
keep doing this?
I don't think I've read that many in Indian. I mean, I've read the Sarnath Banerjee ones. In fact, I think Kashmir Pending is one of the first ones I read from India. That was awesome because I like the way you use like colors in that. Like they show the Indian side of the whole Kashmir thing with orange saffron, and then there's green for the Pakistan occupied stuff, and then it kind of comes together at the end. It's really nice. Sorry, spoilers. On colors.
It's okay.
But yeah, I think that's one that one is quite. I think Corridor was also good. But I think Corridor was really intense. Maybe I wasn't ready for it. Maybe I should read it again. Have you read it?
No, I haven't. What is it?
Corridor by Sarnath Banerjee.
No.
It's one of the. It's like I remember we did one in college. Like we had a comprehension. Remember that, guys?
On Corridor?
And yeah, there was it was about Corridor and graphic novels in India.
Really?
That's
Progress,
amazing.
guys.
Yeah.
Progress.
What school
were
did
you
you go
in?
to?
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about in college when I was doing my Bachelor of Arts in Economics.
Oh.
Of which
That
graphic
happened.
novels are an important part.
And funnily enough, I didn't do a course in graphic novels in my master's in media, but I did
Which
it.
is a shame.
Which
They
is-
should teach.
Which is a sucks, guys.
Yeah,
Which
it's
is
a
a
India,
sucks.
come on. All right, yeah, but yeah. So I've read a few of those. Mostly I read ACK, and that's my scene.
I just got that's Amar Chitra Katha. I was
Yeah.
like, who's an ACK?
Yeah, I was just like, ACK,
This
what
is-
is that?
Dude, Uncle Pie. Bless his
Uncle
soul.
Pi
Uncle
is
Pi.
the best.
Yeah.
His those one-pagers in Tinkle where
Yeah,
he
yeah,
explains science experiments.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
tried all of them and I was terrible at them. They're not as easy as it looks, dude. He's like, oh, pour the baking soda into the water and then it bubbles up, and I was like, this is not working.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who gave you the keys to the chemistry lab?
Miss
You needed
Grundy.
adult supervision to do all of them. The sexy Miss Grundy.
You know what I love?
Sexy Miss Grundy
The-
from Riverdale.
The Tinkle had those, this could happen to you. Do you
Yeah,
guys
I
remember
love
that?
that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, yes, this could happen to me. And there are stories about like people who were like mugged and all of that.
Yeah. It's
I was like,
it's
this is
India.
so scary.
This is what happens here.
I feel like there's a need for a gritty Shikari Shambhu graphic
Dude,
novel.
Oh my
so
God.
funny
Or like
enough,
the-
we just interviewed this Abhijit Kini.
Yeah.
We're big fans of
Who
him.
is again like a great.
Angry
Agimashi and stuff.
I believe, like, if you just put
It's
the
so
3 editions
good.
of Angry Mashi together, which he's doing,
He's done
it's
it.
a graphic
out.
novel.
Yeah,
it's
a
out,
graphic
right?
novel.
Yes.
It's out.
Why don't we
Sabi.
talk about one favorite that we want to recommend one by one? I think let's start with Dinks.
Okay.
Since we talked about Dark Knight Returns, I want to recommend Batman Year One.
Oh, I have that. I haven't read it
One of my
yet.
favorites.
It's so
One of my
good.
favorites,
It's,
yeah.
I think it's one of
Yeah.
the best Batman origin stories ever told.
is, yeah.
Put it up, put it up.
Put it out, yeah.
The art is great, and it's
Miller.
told. Yeah, Frank Miller. It's told kind of from the point of view of Jim Gordon when he first moves to Gotham,
So good.
and Batman. So a lot of elements from Batman Year One work their way into
Batman
a
Begins.
bunch of the movie. Batman Begins particularly.
The art is amazing.
It's
The
amazing.
art is
Yeah, art is-
beautiful.
I also want to say.
And I love that it's a very comic book style, unlike Show Your Friends. See, so comic booky. It's not like all gritty, like.
it's pretty gritty. What do you say?
It's gritty, but like it's colorful and
It's
comic-y.
gritty.
I
Like,
don't
there
say
are some
I
blues in
wanna
it.
The
say
story
that
is
color
gritty.
has nothing to do with gritty. I want.
True, but
Hey,
also.
no, blue, black.
Sure, that's
Maroon.
valid. But I think story content-wise, it's pretty dark. Like.
Yeah, story content-wise,
I mean,
it's
like
very
this is
dark.
the one where Jim Gordon is presented as a completely fallible, like human, like he has
He has an affair.
yeah, while his wife is pregnant. It's really messed up. It's
kind of a dick.
But I also want to say that this has been adapted into a really good animated, movie,
great animated
which
movie.
where Bryan Cranston voices Jim Gordon.
Yes.
So
Oh,
much.
wow.
Yeah, it's
Oh my
great.
God.
It's killer. It's so good.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Again, I
Tejas.
you know, I did want to talk about why The Last Man. So why is it's a very famous comic book by Brian K. Vaughan, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and basically it's about the there's an event that happens on Earth where everyone with the Y chromosome is immediately killed off. They immediately die, and that means that only 2 males survive, male species. One is this guy called Yorick, and his ampersand is the name of his capuchin monkey. And those are the only 2 people who survive, and the world is like pulled into absolute chaos. And there's only women, who either wanna sleep with him, kill him, make him like a god. It's a crazy story, slightly misogynistic and also very feminist in a weird way.
Yeah, I think I've spoken a lot about Indian graphic novels because those are the kind of stuff that I read a lot. But also, if I can recommend one non-Indian graphic novel, it will be Kabul Disco by Nicholas Wilde.
Oh, sweet.
It's set in 2005 and it's about a French journalist who's stuck in Kabul and he hates that city because it's just so war-torn and he can't be who he is, and he's posted there for years and eventually he comes to like Kabul. So
nice.
It transitions from hate to love, but also like the entire it's sketched, so there are no colors in it. It's
Oh, okay.
Not even monochrome, it's just sketch,
Okay.
like line art.
Okay.
And it's just easy to read, hence it's simplistic. Because the story, in fact, even if it wasn't a graphic novel, even as a novel, it would have really worked. But it's just added like a little bit of humanity to it. And also, I think it's for people who read a lot of comic strips and newspapers. It's that kind of audience. It's really nice.
Oh, sweet.
Let's check it out.
Oh, it's my turn.
Yes. Oh, it's my turn.
Oh, it's my turn. So I'm going to recommend two graphic novel series actually. So
They're called
so
comic
everybody's
books.
going to everybody's going to hate me because each book there costs like $500-600. But if you are ever looking at investing in a graphic novel, then you
Because they
have
have great
to.
returns, guys.
This is true.
Like you can hug it while you sleep at night when you're lonely and stuff. Anyway, so if you're going to buy a graphic novel series, I would 100% recommend Sandman. Sandman,
I
yeah.
don't think I ever finished
It's a
that.
classic.
But
Because
Yeah.
it's massive. It's
huge.
so long.
Oh, I haven't finished it. I'm on my I'm on the seventh volume.
Yeah.
And
read
each
a couple,
each volume is better than the previous one. Like I don't know how he does it, but it's genius. Sandman, Neil Gaiman. The first one is called Preludes and Nocturnes. Definitely buy that. And the second one I'll recommend is Saga. Saga is also
Saga
Brian
is
K.
my
Vaughan
favorite.
Yeah.
and Fiona Staples, and it's this like whole. I mean, that's like it's Star Wars. It's,
is
it's
actually, yeah.
more or less,
I'm surprised I haven't read this, but like
It's
I've
a-
heard a
It's
lot
my
of good things.
favorite one of the series.
It's
so
so
pulpy.
much fun. It is just
Really
so
pulpy.
much fun, and it's proper like fantasy sci-fi married together and made
He
in a
does
graphic
talk
novel.
about how it's directly influenced by Star
Oh,
Wars.
it is.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's very.
Then
It's
I
like
think you guys will love
interplanetary.
Why the Last Man. It's like very pulpy.
Yeah,
in
that
sense
sounds
also.
fun.
Yeah.
So I mean, I wouldn't say I like it because it's pulpy. Because I couldn't. I tried to read old Marvel, and I couldn't because it was so pulpy. Like I'm just like,
Yeah, it's
this
really
is this is really
I love
like
pulp.
this is
But
not
it's
my
so
style
fun.
at all. Saga is just like really good, really fun storytelling.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's like it could get dark. I mean, like one of the things in it is this like ghost of a little girl who stepped on a landmine, but she has a sense of humor. So yeah, like she makes jokes. Like she's fun.
Wow.
If you don't like old Marvel, you should check out the book I was
Marvels.
talking about earlier, Marvels.
Yeah.
It is beautiful.
I
It
think,
talks
yeah, it
about
does
a
the
lot.
job
Like every
for-
panel is like a painting. It's stunning. So that's
Is it
great.
Alex Ross?
I don't know.
Oh, okay, cool.
I'm
Oh, I
reading-
have Saga.
yeah. Oh, nice.
Nice.
The first one. It's called One.
Saga 1.
It's called Volume 1. But trust me, the rest of it has a lot of creativity in it.
It's also fabulous art. I
Also,
think.
this guy with the
Beautiful
horns
art.
is very hot.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I could see it.
Yeah, it's
So, a lesser known graphic novel and artist in general that I'd like to recommend is this guy called Ryan North. It's an amazing story. He started out as a webcomics artist where he can't draw, but he started a webcomic where he took these 3 dinosaurs and arranged them in 5 or 6 panels and then used the same they're clip art dinosaurs, a T-Rex and
So
like
cute.
a Utahraptor. They're super cool. And he uses the same panels every day, but tells a whole different story.
Are you serious?
Every
Yeah.
day, yeah.
And he's on like number 3600 or some ridiculous number like that. And I swear to you, every single day it's an amazing story. So he got picked up by Marvel. He's the one who writes the current run of The Amazing Squirrel Girl, which is again
Amazing.
a great comic book
good.
series. You should check it out. And he's got these 2 graphic novels of sorts, which are they are retellings of Hamlet and Romeo and Juliet as choose your own adventure books.
Wow.
So you can decide
That is so
what
cool.
the art. So
I
it's
have a
called
feeling how it's
Romeo
gonna end.
and / or Juliet. You can actually pick different endings
nice.
for
But that's
Hamlet
a really
and
good educational tool as well, right? For
is,
people
yeah.
and kids
Guys,
to get into literature.
Have you seen those Star Wars comics where Leia is they're a funny take on Star Wars where Leia's dressed in slutty clothes and Darth Vader is, you're not going out dressed like that young lady.
Is it the Darth Vader, Vader's little princess?
Yes.
Yeah, Jeffrey Brown. Yeah, I have all
Wade
those,
has
yeah.
little princess.
Vader's little princess is there, and what is the other one called? I can't remember. Vader and family or something,
Something like that.
Yeah,
I bought them
yeah.
as a present for
Yeah.
one of my friends once.
They're
And they are
super cute.
hilarious. They're
Very
so
cute.
funny.
And now he's properly licensed now by like Star Wars.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, there's plenty of good stuff out there, man. Like I think
There's
both,
also
like
this.
XKCD and so
Yeah.
many good stuff.
Hyperbole and a Half, speaking
Yeah.
of webcomics,
Yeah.
Hyperbole and a Half has a graphic novel.
Webcomics, dude. Like
Yeah.
they
What is it
are
called
a
again?
great medium.
I don't remember the name,
yeah.
but I think has she? I don't know if that's the one where she's talked about her struggle with depression.
Okay.
But she has a graphic novel out that's quite popular.
I think it's like I think webcomics are really good that way. I mean,
Yeah.
if it's like gateway kind of drug, it's like once you get
Yeah,
into
like
that,
you said,
it's a
yeah.
good way to kind of.
I feel like graphic
Transition
novels
into-
is also like what publishers are doing to make us buy the same thing again.
This
it's
is
true.
true.
So everything from graphic novels is are so adaptable. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you read this. There's one comic called Fables.
Yeah.
So
Oh yes.
Which is
Fables is
Oh, I didn't
amazing,
bring
right?
it. I have
Fables is
Fables.
basically about like all our old school
Fairy tale
Snow
characters.
White.
fairy tale characters,
Yeah.
but made in like this gritty reality and stuff like that. And they made that into a game which I really love by this company called Telltale. So Telltale basically they make interactive stories. So it's kind of like you're watching a comic book happen. And you get to, it's like choice or consequence. So you get to pick what happens to these characters. And you play Big B Wolf, who's the main character, Big Bad
Nice,
Wolf. Yeah.
nice.
And like you're basically uncovering this whole thing in this
I love
town.
Fables.
Really great.
It's
Really,
set
really
in New
great.
York City,
Yeah,
and they are locked out of like fairy tale
Because of the
land. What is it
adversary.
called?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super fun.
Really
Fables
good.
also super fun. But again, it's such an expensive habit.
It is true,
Loving
yes.
graphic novels.
And again, Fable is pretty expansive.
Yeah,
no? How
it's
long is it?
massive.
I never
don't
finished
know.
it.
No, I didn't finish it either.
Yeah.
I can't.
But
don't have the money.
while we're talking about webcomics, I'd like to recommend a couple because I think it's a great medium and people use it in like a comic strippy style, but also there are these long-running stories which are great. So there's this one called Achewood, which is great art and
yeah.
it is like it tells an actual serialized story
Yeah,
over
it's
like a
pretty-
long period.
I thought there was like a whole comic series though.
No, it was a webcomic that
Webcomic,
got
right?
picked up to be a book,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
believe.
yeah.
There's this other great one called MS Paint Adventures, which I think is the most inventive use of the medium ever. So this guy, he's a great artist, but he does the comic on MS Paint, and every day it's structured kind of like a Telltale game, where
Yes.
every day the commenters and like the readers basically put in a comment. So like he'll just give you a panel. It's like a detective sitting at home and or in his office, and there's like a table, and a commenter enters pick up gun, and he continues the story from there. So it's a massive story, and it's great.
The other one which I just want to is have you guys read Axe Cop? I don't know.
Yes,
So Axe
again.
Cop is a really cool idea.
It's amazing.
So it's basically this guy who's like he was a proper illustrator and stuff, and he has a 5-year-old at the time.
At
when
the time he
started,
was 5,
He was
yeah.
a 5-year-old younger brother, and his younger brother would just basically just spill out all these funny stories, and you just literally adapt them word for word. And I think he's become like the youngest writer or something
Yeah.
like that, because now he's like 9 years old or something, which is again not much. But he's like the actor, like the writer for Axe Cop, which has now been picked up into
Yeah,
a
it's
physical
a
series.
ridiculously funny comic, especially because
Hey.
like yeah,
Nothing. Go on.
what?
Speaking of webcomics, Sahil Rizwan has a book.
Oh really?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's actually really fucking funny.
The Vigil Idiot.
The Visual Idiot. Yeah, he
Is
has a
it
book.
like new
What's the
stuff
book?
or
Yeah,
it's
it's
the
old
existing?
movies.
Ooh,
where
nice.
he reviews like old iconic films.
Killer.
I don't know if you guys have seen Visual
fully
Idiot.
pulpy,
It
yeah.
is so funny.
So
His
good.
book is
Everyone's seen
very
Visual
funny.
Idiot.
Yeah.
So okay, all new stuff.
Yeah, all you said.
All
Yeah.
you
I think yeah, it's because it's a marriage between things that we feel like we own a lot, which is 90s Bollywood movies
Yeah.
and stuff like that. It's like I think
He's
that's
done
great.
like Arzu and like random movies with Madhuri Dixit. And he's
Arzu would
just-
be great.
Yeah, he's torn
I think
into
there's
them.
100
So
days also
funny.
in it. It's
So
hilarious.
funny. Please buy Sahil Rizwan's book also.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's great.
And Zen Pencils.
Zen Pencils.
Zen
Great.
Pencils has two volumes out of brand new comics. You know what Zen Pencils
No,
is?
I don't know.
Zen Pencils is this man who takes stories or quotes from famous people and illustrates them. And he does a beautiful job.
Oh, right. I think I may
you
have
feel
seen-
like,
I must
oh my,
have-
You'd
I'm
have
so
seen it
in-
shared a bunch
You
of
feel
times.
inspired, motivated.
Yeah.
Despite yourself. No matter how jaded you are, you're like, whoa, yes, okay. So I just want to wrap up by talking about how to talk to girls at parties. And
Still something that
We don't know a lot about.
both of
It's
them
a
could
guide,
use some
guys.
help
It's a
with.
guide.
Yeah. So this was a short story by Neil Gaiman, which is online, and we'll give you the link to that, which I had read and not liked that much. Then I walked into this bookstore called Blossom in Bangalore, which is just the most fantastic place
It's a
in the
great
world.
bookstore.
Yeah. And I found this, and it is so beautiful. And it's Neil Gaiman and Fabio Moon and Gabriel Ba, who've also written another book called Day Tripper, which has won a whole bunch of awards. It's here somewhere. So they have illustrated it, and now suddenly it's something completely different. Like it has transformed into this like
It's
beautiful
transcended
science
the
fiction
short story.
story. Yeah.
So have
And
they changed the
so
story?
Amazing. No,
Oh,
it's
no,
the
no.
same
Exact same
story.
story.
Yes.
Okay, that brings us to the end of this
Yes.
very, very informative, recommendation-packed podcast.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much, guys, for
Thank
joining
you.
us.
Thank you.
Tejas
Guys.
and
Thank you,
Dinkar
guys.
And Geek Fruit.
Check out Geek Fruit, the podcast. We'll put the
have
link
the
to
links.
their website here and
Yeah,
also in our
yeah.
descriptions.
Yeah.
And if you like what you saw, subscribe, share. Tell us if there are. we missed out on a lot actually.
I mean, there's,
Yeah.
there's no
It's
way
a-
we could
There's no
do
way.
all of it.
We would have
So-
not ended this day.
This could have just-
late
yeah,
night
yeah.
and we'd still be talking.
It'll be like
about-
20 hours later,
Yeah,
and the
20 hours
crickets are
later.
chirping, and we're like, and you should also read Mouse, and it is amazing.
Yes,
Yeah.
amazing. Mouse is
Yeah.
actually pretty good.
Notice how I slipped a recommendation
Yes.
in.
Yeah,
Nice.
I don't
Nice.
think we'll end.
Smooth.
So yeah. Subscribe to our channel. Subscribe to
Geekfruit.
Geekfruit.
.in.
Not in now.
Geekfruit.in.
Check out Geekfruit, and thank you Tejas and thank you Dinkar.
Thanks
for
guys.
joining
guys.
us.
Thanks for letting us do this.
Yes. Okay. All right. Bye.